Well, I know that we're back in 2023, and news arrived, as you mentioned, that we are getting an animated movie from the franchise. So I guess this is a perfect time to transition into that piece of news, specifically the voice cast, since you know all the character names and the voice cast, and I don't
Mhm.
know any of it. Tell us why we should be excited about this, or why we should be concerned or disappointed.
Well, I think the first reason to be excited is the fact that they were able to get all of the cast who is still alive back on the show. Um,
Mm.
I'm sorry, back for the feature. And so that will add that level of authenticity to it. So you've got Commander Ivanova coming back. You've got uh, I don't know if he's going to be President Sheridan. Oh, man, I'm doing spoilers. I don't know Sheridan. I don't know where he's going to be in his
Is that the
timeline.
captain
Um,
with the double entendres?
No, no. So that person changes out in season two.
Oh, good, because I didn't
Right.
like him in the pilot. He was weird and creepy.
So he is there all throughout season one, and then if I'm recalling this correctly, he either had health issues or an
Oh, I feel bad
alcohol
now.
issue. Yeah, it
Oh,
was either a health issue or an alcohol issue, and he got swapped out in season two for another guy,
another actor
who
or
is
another character?
another actor. I'm sorry, another actor and character. So remember we talked
Okay.
about the trap doors?
Yes.
This was one. And so crap, his name just jumped out of my head. The captain from the first episode, um I don't want to spoil it. They swap characters for reasons.
Okay.
Um and so the voice cast, getting to see all of the living folks come back is great. Um What is sad is there are so many dead actors from the season, and you weren't on the show. I was talking to Kyle and Danny about it, looking at season, I think four, the DVD cover. Like 4 out of 5 of the actors are dead,
Hmm.
and they recast all of those people. And so while it's sad that all those folks are dead, getting to see the fact that they recast all of those people kind of opens the aperture and scope of what this story could be. And we
Hmm.
also got more plot details about what it's going to be. Um, and it just sounds like it's going to be like completely nuts. It sounds like Sheridan is like falling through time and space, almost like quantum leap style, to try to get back to where he's supposed to be in either the timeline or the universe that he's supposed to be in. And as that happens, he's going to encounter like all of these people. And at
Hmm.
least one of the people is exciting to me because part of it is I can't tell who it is. So there's a David Sheridan that's been cast. Now, his father was David Sheridan, and he was an ambassador. Um, I don't think it's him. I think it's his son. And his son would be a really interesting character because we never saw him in live action. And so getting to see who this character is going to be in the animated series, I'm sorry, God, that's not my words. In the
Animated
animated
film.
feature could be fun. And
Hmm.
I saw the actor that they got to play. He seems to be a younger person, which further makes me think that it's not supposed to be his father. So I'm looking forward to it just for all of those reasons. Um, and I'm really excited to see what animation style they choose. Looking at some of the Warner animated stuff. Like first of all, I generally like Warner animated stuff. I haven't liked some of the recent things that they're doing. Like I'm thinking of the most recent Superman. I wasn't a fan of that. Um, but they have had some really good animation to pull from. And the shot that they pulled of the station itself looked fantastic. So I'm hoping it's in line with that.
I gotta kind of looking at the art that is available. And sorry, my camera's all blurry. Anyways, um, I think it's I think it's got a chance to look like the Vox Machina and Arcane style that like
Oh,
painted
interesting.
CGI.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that it's kind of gonna look like that. I don't know for sure because
I
only the one
hope that'd be
image, but
cool.
that's what I get a kind of feel from what I'm looking at, if that makes sense.
So you and
Yeah,
I
it does.
specifically talked about the arcane art style. Like I think you asked me what did I want, and I said that would be a fun one. I think just because it would be so different. Um, I would love to see
You
how they
know,
would do space battles and things like that using that.
I'm wondering how the like if we're gonna get something, if it's gonna feel like what you remember as Babylon 5, because they had budgetary restrictions, because they had it was live action budgetary restrictions on a TV network. They probably had to skew the style to be heavily dialogue heavy, right? To be dialogue heavy and politic heavy, as you said. Um, I wonder, decades later, switching to animated medium, switching to the film medium, if that's going to change it style so that it's doesn't feel as much like Babylon 5. Is that a concern that you have about it?
No, mostly because it's the same creator behind it.
Mm.
If this was someone different, then yeah, I could see that as being a concern. I get the impression that JMS is so, for lack of a better term, possessive and protective of this property that he wouldn't want to do something that would compromise his vision for what this would be. And I
Mm.
remember him talking about a quote. He said words to the effect of like to Warner Brothers, like, let me know when you're actually serious about doing something with this property. And he just wasn't interested in doing something that was less than or would treat this property with less respect than he thought it deserved.
Yep. That makes sense. Okay. I mean, I guess in my head, I'm thinking that I could see that, but I could also see him being like, hey, this is an animated movie. It's a chance for me to flex my writing muscles in another direction. It could still be great, but it could be different, maybe from what you know as Babylon 5 to be. Are you open to that potential? Or would you be disappointed if it's still good, but isn't necessarily what you know Babylon 5 to be?
I mean, I think you and I've had discussions about this before. Like, if it's still good, it's still good. And I know
Mhm.
that that is a subjective thing. Still good to
Sure.
me is, do the characters still feel like the characters? Is it an
Right.
interesting plot? And what you reminded me of just now was, and I'm going to eat my own words. So he was involved in the Lost Tales, which was something that came out after all of the shows had come out, and it was like these little stories about Babylon 5, and it was like, this is fine. It wasn't particularly good, and it while it wasn't bad, it wasn't wholly satisfying either. And so I
Mhm.
think that would be more disappointing to me than this feeling different, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, I want to make sure before we close out on this. I know for you sent a long article on Discord that you wanted to give context, or was that just for us, or was that something you wanted to incorporate into your thoughts for the whole Babylon
So
5
that was really
discussion?
for you all, so you could understand. There was
Okay.
a discussion he was having, as someone was having a discussion about the gathering about 11 years ago. And he was basically just giving context to the episode itself, where he freely admitted, he was like, hey, this isn't like my best stuff, but I do stand by what's in here. And what it really showed was the concept of the show, what the show could be. Um, and I think he specifically talked about the fact that Peter Jurassic elevated the work that was portrayed on screen, um, and then he just talked about some of the at least one plot point that is important throughout the course of the show, where he talked about um, there's a hole in your mind when he's talking to Jeffrey Sinclair at the end. For the most part, a lot of what happens throughout the course of the pilot is not particularly important. It gives you a flavor for what the show is going to be. It sets up a lot of the universe, but you get that throughout the course of the first season. That last line is a plot point that carries throughout. Everything else that you get throughout the course of the series, throughout the course of this that feature film, The Gathering, you get all of that stuff throughout the course of the first season, so you don't really miss anything by not seeing it.
That's actually, it almost makes me happy they kind of got rid of it, because I feel like if you're able to effectively sprinkle those aspects throughout a whole season and make it as effective rather than just sort of front load it at the beginning, that's probably better storytelling. I'm just basing this on nothing other than that. Cool. Well, enough talk about network TV. I know we are living in the age of streaming, and right now